docket 23-01237. That's people of the state of Michigan versus Benjamin Conley. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Ms. Wilson.
Abigail Wilson for the people.
And then Mr. Watson, you're here on behalf of the Public Defender's Office, but your office does not represent Mr. Conley at this time because of the conflict. Is
That's
that correct?
accurate. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Watson. And sir, you are Benjamin Conley, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. This is the time set for preliminary examination today. Ms. Wilson, how we proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Connolly had an attorney previously, Mr. Freeman. I believe he was appointed as conflict counsel. He has since been fired and withdrawn.
That's not it.
Mr. Blackman.
Mr. Blackman. Yeah. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I got the names mixed up. Yes, Mr. Blackman.
Not sure Mr. Freeman or Mr. Blackman.
No, sorry. Mr. Blackman. So he has since withdrawn. It's my understanding that Mr. Connolly is still without counsel. I would be requesting, 2 weeks to see if there is another attorney that can be appointed. If not, then I would be ready to proceed at that date. There has also been additional discovery that has been submitted to our office, I believe Wednesday, that includes some forensics and video evidence and some new witness statements. So that would need to be brought to either Mr. Connolly or his new attorney as well before the exam. So that's kind of the position we're at right now.
All right. Mr. Watson, on behalf of the Public Defender's Office.
Your Honor, this is a 5 co-defendant case involving Benjamin Conley Sr., represented by Kareem Johnson of the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office, Samantha Jilson, represented by Eric Tamal of my conflict roster, Jessica Prawd, Prawtsricchai.
I think we dismissed her.
Beg your pardon?
I think we dismissed on her.
All right.
That was
represented
Mr.
by
Yang.
Joseph Yang. Yeah. Jonathan Beck, represented by Jared Austin of my office. And finally, this defendant, Benjamin Conley Jr., who appears before you today. Initially, this defendant was assigned a member of our office, an attorney who's actually in the gallery of Your Honor's courtroom right now, Stephen Freeman. That was at the time that Mr. Freeman first joined our office. As soon as we discovered that our office also represented Jonathan Sylvester via Jonathan Sylvester Beck, we conflicted the matter out to our conflict roster. As the most serious of the allegations is robbery armed, life or term of years offense, required, of course, to find what I commonly refer to as an A-level conflict attorney, as according to the standards set by the MIDC. Somebody well qualified to be able to handle major crimes against persons cases effectively. Having had difficulty finding anybody on our conflict list able to take on the matter due to their own conflicts, that is, ethical issues that would make them unable to represent Mr. Conley here, I sent this case out to our neighboring counties, including Clinton, Eaton, Gratiot, Jackson, Livingston, and Shiawassee counties. Finally, Your Honor, we were able to secure a conflict roster attorney who was not on my conflict roster, but on the Jackson County conflict roster list. That is Frederick Blackman, with whom Your Honor may well be familiar. He accepted the case. On the 8th of November of 2023, Your Honor's office, at least this is based on the information that I've been able to develop. I don't know the truth of it. I was not in the hearing, okay? But I'm informed from my case management system, from my review of the files, that on the 8th of November of 2023, Your Honor's office emailed my office to inform us that this defendant, Mr. Conley, refused to work with Mr. Blackman due to his age, claiming apparently he was too old, and that Your Honor was allowing Mr. Blackman, therefore, to withdraw from the case. Again, we emailed out to the list, to the various lists above, and to this date, I am still unable to find anyone qualified to take on this case who can ethically take on the case. I've reached out to multiple attorneys myself, Your Honor, individually via telephone call in an effort to try to be well informed so that I could find somebody who was not looking at this case like it was a conflict, somebody who could accept the case. I await hearing back from one more of the newest attorneys to be added to my roster, somebody who has left the Eaton County Office of the Public Defender as of today. and may be available to take on the case, but I am unclear whether that is the case. I can tell you, Your Honor, this is one of these situations, frankly, it appears to be wholly created by this defendant. Apparently, he has decided that he gets to select his assigned attorney, and that's the problem. This delay is wholly attributed to this defendant, okay? And like I said, Your Honor, I was not in the courtroom. I was unable to observe what took place when Mr. Blackman and this defendant appeared in the courtroom. But if it's true that this defendant just decided, well, I don't like this lawyer because he's too old, that's not a good enough reason. But then again, I'm not a judge. I wasn't there. Your Honor's decision was Your Honor's decision. But I find myself in a position now where I don't have a lawyer for Mr. Conley. I recognize that I'm obligated to do so. I'm making my best efforts to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Conley, would you like to say anything for the record?
Yeah, it wasn't how you made it out the scene. He was a conflict of interest. I had him on another case prior to this, and we had issues then. So that's why I asked him to be off my case. He's not a good lawyer. That's why.
Your Honor, if I may.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes, it's my understanding that Mr. Blackman did represent Mr. Connolly in another case, and that he was, convicted and sentenced to a term of imprisonment, and Mr. Connolly did not like that, and that is why he wanted Mr. Blackman off this case.
There was a motion to withdraw.
I believe so,
from Mr.
based
Blackman.
on the fact that Mr. Connolly was not willing to work with Mr. Blackman.
Right. There was the representation that Mr. Conley, because of whatever factors, decided that he did not want Mr. Blackman to represent him. Mr. Blackman, there was obviously a breakdown in that relationship somewhere because Mr. Blackman wanted off the case. But I think Mr. Watson makes a pretty good record that we are still stuck here and we need to find a lawyer. So this is I'm going to set this out so that Mr. Watson has time to make the phone calls and get a lawyer sometime in this matter. But I'm also, Mr. Watson, you're to indicate that if for whatever reason, Mr. Conley, that attorney is not to your liking, all right, then you're going to represent yourself, and and the lawyer's going to be a standby counsel. I don't have any other choice at that point but to make the attorney here and have a standby counsel, and you can tell them that should be part because I think the other 4 defendants were bound over months ago.
Yes.
And this is going on almost a year.
I believe they've already been arraigned in circuit
right.
as well.
So
Mr. Connolly is also incarcerated, so there is a speedy trial issue here
right.
too, which I believe can be attributed to his actions. But we're getting kind of down to the wire here with this
right.
case.
He is he incarcerated? He's not incarcerated on this case.
Not on this case. I believe he was incarcerated on another because he is currently in prison.
He's in DOC right now. All right, Mr. Conley, you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's been prolonged. Last time they adjourned it for 2 months to get me a lawyer. This is just prolonging and prolonging. I'm trying to get this over with.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're going to adjourn. We will, I think, for the prelim, we had set aside some time. So we'll set aside some time for this too, because we had multiple attorneys at the previous prelim. But I want to set it out at least time to give your office some time to get the individual. I think 30 days is sufficient. So adjourn for appointment of conflict counsel, 30 days, and then I'll make a note for the record, Mr. Conley, in 30 days. If you show up and you don't like that lawyer or that lawyer is conflict, then we'll have you represent yourself and we'll appoint the lawyer next to you to sit by your side and to be there for any questions you may ask. But we're going in 30 days.
I'm ready.
All right. So we'll adjourn for conflict counsel to be found and looked at by the public defender's office, and we'll set for it. And probably set this for an afternoon, right?
March 21st at 1:30.
So March 21st at 1:30.
Your Honor, if it should turn out in this flow chart of events it turns out that the conflict attorney assigned to the case should turn into a standby counsel. I'll make sure well ahead of time that that lawyer is familiar.
Well, Mr. Conley, you can't talk to people.
With all of the Wiggins factors, those obligations that a conflict attorney has,
Right.
that a standby attorney has. And I'll work out the machinations with the circuit court because a standby attorney cannot be paid for by my funding,
Right.
instead by the court. And I'll work all that out. I'm
Right.
doing my best, Your Honor. I just want you to know.
Right.
That's why I came personally rather than sending an emissary, my deputy.
Right. I understand. This is one of those issues that's been created. And so we'll have something in effect going for prelim 30 days.
And I want to make it clear that the prosecutor's office in no way is putting this delay on the public defender's office. We 100% agree that this delay is attributable to the defendant, and they're doing their best that they can with the circumstances.
Well, and this isn't the first time this has happened, but Mr. Blackman was the bite at the apple of the conflict counsel. Mr. Conley, 30 days from now, you're going to have a new lawyer, okay? And we'll be ready to go. If that's not a lawyer to your liking, then you're going to be representing yourself.
I'm had to deal with it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so